Hey there, before we get to today's SEO Rant Madness, just want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Semrush, a leading online visibility management SaaS platform that enables businesses globally to run search engine optimization, pay-per-click content, social media, and competitive research campaigns and get measurable results from online marketing. Semrush offers insights and solutions for companies to build, manage, and measure campaigns across various marketing channels. And now to the show. It's Rant Delicious. Welcome to the SEO Rant. I am your host, Mordy Oberstein, but you might know me better as Wix's head of SEO for Rant. But I'll remind you, this podcast is your unofficial Mordy Magic and Mordy Mania, where can you find official magic and meh on the Mania side. Check out Wix's SERPs Up podcast over at wix.com/SEO/learn/podcast. Why am I pitching another podcast? As I say on the show, it's my show. I'll pitch whatever I want. Also, I do the other podcast. So why would I listen to two podcasts? Who said you only listen to one podcast? Also, since I'm pitching stuff, check out It's New with myself, Crystal Carter, and Barry Schwartz each and every day on Barry's Rusty Brick YouTube channel and on the Wix SEO Learning Hub. It's in syndicate on both channels. So, and it's new. I don't know when this episode is coming out, so it might not be new by then, but the day I'm recording this, it hasn't even come out yet. It's that new. And our esteemed guests like, what? I didn't even know it's new. Where can you find the SEO Rant? You can find it, but if you're looking, you can find it wherever podcasts are found, or the SEORant.com, or on Twitter, which I refuse to call X, at SEO Rant. Typically, new episodes come out on Thursdays, sometimes Fridays, so it does make sense to subscribe wherever you consume your podcast. For today's listening pleasure, he's a digital marketing analyst over at Tarakeet. Cannot believe the first time we're actually having a verbal conversation. It's a shanda, as my grandmother would say. Welcome to the show, Jonas Sickler. How are you?
Hey man, it is awesome to be here. And for anybody who's listening who maybe hasn't seen the visual here, Morty does this whole thing like on the fly live. I couldn't believe it. I always thought when you did that fast talking intro that it was a recording that you just played over and over again.
I
But
blank out. I go into a zone. I don't know what happened.
it's like
I've
a
completely
professional auctioner.
Yeah, that I've always wanted to be a like a sports analyst, like on the radio,
You
or
could
like do
nail it.
like play by play. Yeah, if I can come back in another life, I might try that. Unless I come back as a cat, in which case I can't try that. Is this the first time we're talking? And we're going to be talking, but we've known each other for like on the Twitter verse for years. And I just want to say, it is so weird that you talk to people forever, and then it takes years to have a conversation. I almost feel like you've been avoiding me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you kind of scared me for a little while. When you first get out there and you're just like, all right, I'm going to start engaging with people and having conversations. And then there's some people who are just so comfortable doing it. You kind of get afraid of like what kind of reactions are going to happen. And so you kind of hold back and you stop, you don't want to engage. You don't want to comment. And then after a while, you're like, wait a minute, this is where all the value is when you actually start talking to people. You can only get so much by listening and hanging out in the shadows.
That's it.
And,
That's
you
true.
really got to jump in.
For all you lurkers in the shadows, come out there. It's the pool is warm and full of well, be careful out there, but it's full of some good people. Um, today we're talking about amplifying SEO in a variety of ways. What's on your mind? How are we amplifying SEO and turning it to 11?
Well, I mean, we've seen how things have evolved over the years, especially most recently. And one of the things that I've kind of noticed is that, and this is especially true with bigger brands when you're working with larger companies, but I think it's across the board that SEO kind of gets the shaft sometimes in terms of the value that it really creates. I think it's tremendously undervalued overall as a channel. Everything that we do, we create this content, and we publish things for the organic search channel, and then people come in and they convert through organic, and that's what we get to measure. But then you think about all of the other times where maybe you're running paid ads to the content you created for organic search. You're sharing things on social and getting traffic. You're sending it out through email. That's generating traffic and conversions and revenue. But nobody ever gets to measure that stuff because it's not through the organic search channel. So kind of one of the things that we've been focusing more on recently is trying to find all the different ways that we can amplify SEO value. And we found that we ended up having to kind of create a new sort of subset of marketing, a new marketing strategy called owned asset optimization, which allows us to, instead of think about channels, what we'll do is create assets, owned assets that we can then amplify across channels. So we'll take search data and say, what does our audience care about? And okay, they care about these topics. So let's publish content on the website, the blog, any owned assets that we have full control over. Let's create the content there and then atomize it and sort of take that content, and maybe the social media person's like, hey, I can take this article we created and I can turn it into a carousel on LinkedIn, and we can take it, make a video and put that on TikTok, and we can atomize it into bullet points for email. So how can we take the value that we've created for an asset that was originally intended for organic search, but is built to satisfy user needs because it was literally informed by search data, and then amplify it in other ways, but make sure that we give the value in the channel where the users are. So we're not just saying share a link and make them click it, but no, give them the value that we've got.
That's such an interesting and novel way of looking at this. And I've been talking about it from a little bit different perspective for a while now. I've been on a soapbox. And I don't know if you agree or disagree. It's fine to disagree with me on my own podcast. I disagree with half the things I say after I say them. So you just be like, join the club. I feel like being top of mind is going to become more and more important for brands. You're going to have to differentiate yourself. Users are more skeptical about what they're consuming, how they're consuming it, where they're consuming it from, especially because you're living in an AI world, but just for a variety of reasons. And you being that brand that's differentiated, that actually is conversing with your audience, that has a real valued connection with the audience, is going to come more into focus. So how that plays out on the SEO side is, I Google X, Y, and Z about whatever product. I see you showing up there. I Google the next search. I see you showing up there. I Google the next search and I see you showing up there. Maybe this time I actually click on your article. I come back out 3 weeks later. I'm looking at something again. There you are again. Maybe I've seen you on another channel on social media to reinforce this, whatever it is. And then I'm going to buy something or buy something similar. I'm like, you know what? Like, I really like that brand. They really resonated with me. I'm just going to go to that brand. That's SEO value. That's you being at the user's various stages of their journey, being present, building that awareness, being able to offer some kind of value to them, so that when they eventually do come around to buying either the product they originally searched for or a different product or service that you offer, they're like, you know what, let me go check them out. That's SEO value. But how do you, it's very hard to measure that SEO value because it's so indirect, because that funnel is so messy in that sense.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, we've even actually stopped calling it a funnel because of that, because it doesn't look like that shape anymore.
Right.
It is like a nest of craziness. And people kind of, maybe they start, very curious and top of funnel, if we're going to say that, and they kind of get into stuff and then they go back out again because they weren't quite ready. And so I think, one of the reasons that we really love organic search versus things like a paid channel as your first priority is because organic search is really, it's kind of the place that people go when they're seeking answers, and therefore they're most receptive to marketing messaging. If your goal is to watch a video on YouTube and somebody plays an ad, you have to watch it. It's not often relevant. You're usually distracted by what's going on. And you're like, can I skip this already so I can get back to what I'm trying to do, what I care about? But when you're searching for answers and a brand shows up, you're giving them the value that they're looking for right now. So doing that repeatedly, it really builds up that loyalty, the awareness, and the trust signals, so that it's, when they are ready to buy, they're familiar with you and they're more trusting of your brand because you've been the one that's kind of guided them along this path so far.
Crying.
And we kind of have taken that. And if you think about the traditional marketing, right? You've got interruption marketing, which is like you're watching TV, you got to watch the ad. And then that evolved into permission marketing, where you're like, okay, I'll give you my email address and you can market to me. But what is that? That's just interruption marketing in a digital age, because I'm getting emails when I don't want them now. So we've decided that there needed to be a new evolution, which we're calling reception marketing, because you're searching for something. I'm giving you the answer to the question that you're seeking, so you're receptive to that. And I think that evolution is kind of a critical point at where we are, and it's really kind of amplified by SGE or whatever form any of that takes, as Google steps in and says, like, how can I guide you to this new content?
I'm crying happy tears. So good to hear somebody say something like that on an SEO podcast.
Yeah, it's got to start there.
Oh, it's so good. First off, I will say this because I want to ask you how you do it. But before I get into or ask you how you do this, I was just holy crap, like the stars are aligned. I don't even believe in astrology. I just posted on LinkedIn like an hour ago or something like that. I scheduled it, so I'm not exactly sure when I posted it, but maybe an hour ago. That a lot of times what brands do is they get, and it's another form of what you're saying, they get very into the creative campaign. And we're gonna do something very flashy, very stark and visual and vivid and catchy and whatever. And they create these things and they pat themselves on the back for doing it after. Look how creative we are. And the audience, they might notice it. They might say, oh, that's nice. But you haven't built a long, deep relationship with them that's based on value. You really offer them nothing. It's like going on a date and you say, look at this leather jacket that I have at this muscle t-shirt. Ain't I sexy? And then you might be, but no one's marrying you because of that. And education is the best marketing tool that I can possibly think of. For one of the reasons that you mentioned is that the barrier that you put up when you're seeing an ad doesn't exist. If you're educating me and I don't feel like you're selling to me, I'm receptive to what you're saying. And I'm not putting up like, all right, how are they trying to sell me and how are they trying to get me and how they got to hold on to my wallet because maybe they're trying to sell me and I shouldn't really be sold to right here. Or they're being too aggressive. You're just being educated. And as you're being educated, if you happen to be like indoctrinated or see some things that you like along the way, you're receptive to them because all those barriers aren't present. And I think marketers, let alone SEOs, completely don't value that point. Now that I've got that out there and I feel so much, I was cathartic. How do you go about doing this? What's your process look like? I don't want you to spill the tea and like, share all the secret sauce because I get that. But what are y'all doing? How does it work?
No, there is no secret sauce. I mean, that's kind of the beauty when we set out to say, like, if we're gonna create owned asset optimization and we're gonna do this, it's not a Tarakeet thing, it's a marketing thing. And so there is no like we're gonna hold this to ourselves and we're only going to like it's not successful unless everybody does it. Everybody's got to get on board. And all the companies that we've been talking to have been so enthusiastic about it because they are notoriously struggling with the brand versus demand problem. And there is a gaping hole in the middle of the customer journey where brands are like, oh yeah, we're going to invest like $1 billion in Super Bowl commercials and they're going to be awesome. And people will go, yeah, that was really, oh, it made me, I got a little bit, choked up when I watched that commercial. That was cute, but they're not going to go buy the product right away. Or, oh, that was hilarious. I saw, this famous person in this ad and that was great. And I know them. So I feel a little bit more connected to the brand, maybe, but it's that whole like guiding them along the thought process. Right now that entire process is being controlled by third-party publishers, affiliates.
Yeah.
Even if you're maybe thinking affiliates as like a guy with a website, but no, like some of these are the biggest
The
publishing
Rolling
brands in the
Stone
world.
is basically
Right.
in a giant affiliate market at this point.
Yeah. And everybody, those are where the decision-making processes are happening right now. So if brands can kind of step into that and think of themselves as publishers and not just like, go and do a giant commercial and then have a product page, but think about all the questions that your audience is asking. And if you're analyzing search data, you're not just going like, oh, that keyword's popular, write an article. No, you're gathering the information and you're telling a story about who this person is, who your audience is. You're able to segment the audience into different groups based on the types of things they're searching. And those can be like your personas. You don't need to just call them, like office manager Sam. It's like, what are they searching for? What are their needs? And then how can you break them up and understanding based on the things that they're searching for, how you craft your messaging at different stages or for different products. Yeah.
Yeah. And that whole positioning thing is a question that I think people don't even think of. They think, okay, we're going to target here's our list of keywords. We're going to target this, but they're not thinking about how does all of that position you? Let's say you go after those keywords. Does that position you the right way long-term? Maybe you're better off not getting that traffic and positioning yourself a little bit differently so that you actually get traffic that converts because you've positioned yourself the right way. But it does go to, and just to touch back on the educational thing, I want to make one last point to slip my mind. There's only one relationship, and I'll say this as both a parent and a former teacher, where the relationship between the two parties is almost like paternal, and that's a teacher and a student. It's psychologically like one of those relationships that's very, very, very similar. When you're educating somebody and they're relying on you for that information and you handle that the right way, the amount of trust and connection that builds is unprecedented. So when you're going after different touch points where the user's going to be and you're there and you take your foot off the gas pedal just a little bit and hold off on the conversion just a little bit and offer information, you're able to build and create a relationship that the only other kind of relationship that's as powerful as that to your parents, basically. That's insane.
Yeah.
Why would you not do that?
Yeah. The whole building trust with people is about that. It's about making sure that your brand is there at every waypoint along the customer journey, no matter where they go, but more importantly, anticipating how that journey unfolds, right? So that not only did you capture their visit and then they have to go back and discover the next stage somewhere else, but if you know what their next questions are going to be, you can create content for those that answers those questions. So they don't have to go back to Google. They don't have to go back to wherever they discovered you and then stumble upon another answer, right?
Yeah.
You've given it to them already. And they're like, you understand me. Exactly. You understand me.
So powerful. Yeah, that's a great point, because even if they don't go to the next page, but they see it there and they say, okay, that's actually relevant, and maybe I'll go to that back to tomorrow, but they forget, you've already established that you get me, or you get what I need, and you have the information there in case I need it. The classic case I give of this is a keyword. Imagine someone searching for go to Yankees game. I'm a big Yankees fan. What does that mean? Like, it means first off, it means different things to different people. If I live 5 blocks away, it means one thing. If I live in Japan and I'm coming in and I want to go to a Yankees game, it means something completely different. And you need to understand the audience and then what they predict, what they're going to need. In that case, right? You might need, if I'm coming from Japan, I might need to know how to get there. I might need to know if the neighborhood is safe or not. I might need to know, hey, look, I'm a Shohei Ohtani fan. I'm going to wear a Dodgers jersey. If I get a seat in the bleachers, that's safe? No, that's not safe. Don't do that. They need to know also, can I bring my own food? I don't want to pay $30 for an inedible hot dog. No, you can't bring your own food. So you have to pay $30 for an inedible hot dog. But the best place to get one of those would be on deck 3. The hot dogs there are the best. There's so much information that if you thought about the mindset of the users, you'd be able to predict. It's not hard, but guess what's not going to tell you that information? A keyword research tool like AlsoAsked. AlsoAsked, although, might be able to help you just a little bit better, because what it does is it mines the actual questions that your users are actually asking. AlsoAsked has the world's only API for people also ask data, meaning you can combine this data directly with AI tools such as ChatGPT to supercharge your content briefs and write great content at scale, because AlsoAsked mines and organizes Google's people also ask data in real time. Go to alsoasked.com and use code SEO Rant to get 10% off. But a tool like AlsoAsked might be more relevant when you're trying to do this than a tool like, I don't know, your traditional keyword research tool, because you're getting actual questions, which what you should be doing is thinking about the questions your users actually have. How's that for a pivot?
That's perfect.
Yeah, it was good.
It's even more magical when it happens in real time.
Yeah.
Because
that's the Mordy magic.
I'm just thinking like, oh, he's just going to pause it and he's going to go pick up a piece of paper and read this script. No, it doesn't happen that way. It is magic.
I'm self-deprecating about everything about me, except the fact that I do a good job pivoting.
Oh, an amazing job.
Yeah.
And I didn't want, you mentioned earlier on, the sort of like the how it's done. And I didn't really answer it, but I want to make sure that I don't skirt that question, like how exactly OAO works in a quick and easy explanation of it. The main principle is that it is essentially there's the foundations of SEO and online reputation management, digital PR that underpin it. And the main crux of it is that instead of creating content for channels, you're creating content for assets that you control, your website, your blog, your app. And the main reason for that is if you think about just like what happened with Twixer, right? I mean, all of a sudden, I'm not calling it X either, by the way. The platform blows up, and they give away free check marks or whatever for $10, and then people buy fake brands names, and then advertising freaks out, and everybody runs, and all these brands that invested millions or billions of dollars in a platform to grow a presence. Now, all of a sudden, they're not sure if they can play there, or they maybe need to kind of pull it back a little bit. So if they hadn't invested in their own assets in their website to build these things out, now they're kind of like, oh my God, where do we go from here? And then you got TikTok hanging in the mix right now. Is that going to get banned? I mean, there's another example. So I think that's where we came down to say, like, okay, invest in your most controllable owned assets first, build them out, and also think not just about your website, but how you appear in search and the story that Google tells when people do a branded search. It all plays into that because some of your owned assets and controllable assets might be other third-party websites or business profiles and things that are going to show up for branded searches and reviews and everything. And it's going to be even more is exacerbated by an SGE type experience if AI is woven in. Now, all of a sudden, my query is Bank of America a good company? Where does that answer come from? It's an answer, and it feels trustworthy, but who's providing it? It's coming from many different places throughout Google's index that's kind of being curated and then rewritten. So you need to understand how all those answers are kind of created, how they're served, and in what way. So I think by focusing in and optimizing the things you have most control over first, and then thinking about how can we take those and create content with influencers based off of that owned asset? How can we create content for social media based off of that content? But you still always start with something that you own and control. Even if it's a Super Bowl commercial, like you should have something on your website that is the core of that first. Say like, what is it? Dunk Kings or something? Dunkin' Donuts did a Dunk Kings thing. Like have something on your website that is going to be showing that if somebody searches Dunk Kings, you've got a page to show up.
That's right.
And then also do it everywhere else, right?
I was talking to Eli Schwartz about this, and I forgot which company he said it was who ran the Super Bowl ad, millions of dollars, but they didn't own their own branded SERP. So people were searching for their brand after the Super Bowl commercial because I never heard of them before. You don't get their actual website. I don't know who it was, but you don't get their website. That's insane. You spent millions of dollars, and the one place where you do have some control, you didn't do the basic things to gain that control. But isn't it surprising that, because I don't know, I feel like humanity we're all in some way control freaks to whatever extent, but when it comes to digital, we just fork over the control to everybody. Your website is the one place where, like, maybe outside of the hosting, you run everything, and people don't invest. What?
It's, you know what it is? I think it's not easy when you're in competitive spaces. And I think brands try it and they go, okay, well, we're going to hire a person. They're going to write an article a week. They do it. And then they spend X number of dollars. It didn't work because they didn't know what they were doing exactly. And, maybe they work with an SEO company or something that didn't really do things the right way. They saw some gains, they got everything from not ranking to like position 14, and they're like, awesome job. But you didn't do anything. We didn't get traffic. We didn't get conversions. And so they're just like, this is too hard. We don't know what we're doing. It's too expensive to invest in it. And it takes too long to get started,
That's the truth.
And so they just go, we're just going to keep doing the ads.
Yeah, but I just saw an article from the Drum today about 50% of like all ads or something, like, I don't remember the exact stat, that the creators like never see the light of day. You're spending all this money churning out this content and they just never get out there for whatever reason. You're out there. Speaking of what's out there, you're out there, but in a good way. You're out there on social media, not like you're out there. I mean, maybe you are, I don't know, but you're out there on social media. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about your amazing outlook on SEO marketing?
I would say come hit me up on LinkedIn and Twitter, X, fine. I mean, those are the two places that I'm most active, and I love having conversations. So come talk to me, DM me, whatever. Let's talk.
feel at this point, like, I don't know why it's like a shtick that I do, but like, you're not on Twitter? You're not on TikTok?
You know what? I'm probably going to be soon. We started filming and
Okay.
the first video was crap. So I found out that I'm no good at sticking a phone on the side of my tripod and talking to a phone. I need to do this. So we're going to do another take on it where I get to talk to people, and we're going to record through
All
the
right.
desktop. But those will end up going onto Twitter or
Okay.
onto TikTok, and I think that it'll be more a little bit more authentic, like this is.
All right. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and looking forward to seeing you on TikTok. I don't know if I'll see you because I'm not there, but I will know that you're there and see the fact that you are there, unless I decide to go on TikTok, which is not happening. Anyway, Jonas, thank you so much for coming on the show. To the audience, look for the SEO Rant at SEO Rant on Twitter, the SEORant.com, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you consume podcasts. We are also there, so check us out there as well. And again, Jonas, thank you so much for coming on. Really great to talk to you.
This was a blast, and I really, really appreciate it, Mordy.
Anytime. To the audience, well,